Okay. Greenhaven, a 2-3-1-2. Let's try and play a bit. Alright, what's his stats? His 1 minute's good. Looks like a real player from his stats. Based on a lot of games, so it's nice. It's reassuring to know for me personally a reasonable bullet rating. So bishop d3 is I've done some analysis on this and I've completely forgotten it. Okay, let's play bishop d3. What was the analysis? I think the analysis was about losing a pawn here. Was okay for some reason. What was it? Bishop a3 or something else? Maybe just rook b1, but rook b1 doesn't seem that convincing. Bishop a3 looks very interesting. Keep the king in the centre. I'll play bishop a3. I think it's gone overkill. I'll be strategically surfing his combination. That's what a new term I was going to mention. That you can let the opponent do their forcing moves and strategically surf them. Get better strategic elements after the combination. So here, okay, he didn't go for the exchange there. He wasn't that greedy. But knight c5 looks tasty here. Bishop a2. Knight b7, and c6 is vulnerable. If I don't play knight c5, he might try and castle queenside. What else? There's queen g4. Queen g4 looks like I'm losing the queen actually. So knight c5. From knight b7 to d6. Actually, that's good. Knight b7 to knight d6 check. So is he going to slow down now? If he castles, then of course knight e6 and bishop f8. If he plays queen a5, okay, he's done this. So knight d6 should be interesting. Knight d6. Knight d6 check. Okay, do I play it now? I think so. If king f8, knight f5 check, we win the queen. King d7, there's bishop f5 check here. Or there's rook b7, that looks juicy. This could be a quick win. Because rook on the 7th, oh blimey, there's bishop f5. Bishop c4. Bishop f5, king f6. It's almost that bishop's protecting there, so interesting. So rook f7, is that possible threatening bishop f5? If I play rook f7, the knight's held at the moment, so let's try this. There's bishop d4. Oh no, hang on, bishop d4, bishop f5. So I'm actually threatening bishop f5 mate. Okay, so he's parried it. But checking all checks. Bishop f5 he takes. It's nothing. Bishop c4 he takes the bishop. There's f4 threatening f5 check, and if it takes, there's queen e2 check. Well, there's maybe just one f4, so f4. I think bishop d4 is not that harmful, so I'm threatening f5 check. Now if it takes, rook takes f4. This is a check all check situation because the king's exposed. So I'm proposing that might be a better concept than the docking computer. It would have helped in my last over the board game considerably, I think, to check all checks. So I'm checking bishop f5 and bishop c4 by that principle. What other checks? Queen g4, that's another check to check. Check all checks is actually much harder said than done. So I'm also threatening f5 check. That's a check I want to introduce. E takes introduces other checks like queen e1, which doesn't work, queen e2, which probably doesn't work. Okay, so again, queen g4 doesn't work, bishop c4 doesn't work. F takes, what about just f takes? Because then I'm introducing rook f6. That looks juicy because it's coordinating some pieces, protecting d6 yet again. It means rook 1 to f6 is going to draw the king further up, which one would hope this king is not going to survive too long. One would hope. So knight c4, there's rook e7. I could try and win the queen with knight c4 and bishop e7. Maybe rook e7 is worth doing. Under the check all checks principle, there's also queen h5 or rook f5. Rook f5. Okay, I don't want to run too much out of time. There's g3 just trying to evict the queen, which would be handy for rook e1. If I just blocked that diagonal and then rook e1, then there's lots of checks to look forward to. There's queen e4 check to look forward to. So I think I might try this g3 because it actually leads to promising checks. If I can play rook e1, that's a nice check that I wanted from before. So takes, then there'll be queen e4 check potentially if queen g5. I want to play rook e1, so I've just blocked the queen from e1. So I think this is a very powerful idea, and the idea of check all checks, you know, it has built-in caution because you just want to check them. You're not saying they're necessarily good. You're ordering basically by the most important type of forcing move, which is the check. It's like a legal requirement to do something. So rook e1 check. I'm not trying to win the queen with rook e7, knight c4, because I think, you know, he'd take my okay, so there's queen h5 and there's rook f5. I think the rook e1 check is promising because it leads to that queen e4 check. What other checks? So check there, there's knight c4, there's rook f5, there's king e6. I don't want to lose on time, that's the other thing. I'll try this. If knight e2, there's bishop e2. I don't think that's particularly hot. So king d5, there's queen e4 check. This is actually a good game for check all checks, but I wonder if I'm going to lose on time here. I've got 37 seconds now to finish him off. Yeah, I wanted to do a dedicated video about docking computer versus check all checks, because I believe actually that check all checks could be the way forward. It only took about a second for me to play that move, even with media encoder. So can I lose on time from this position? I would hope not, because checking all checks, I've got bishop f3 check coming up, and then queen e4. Also, there isn't bishop b2 because, okay, so queen e4 here. If we check all checks here, actually bishop b2 is now on. There's queen b4. Queen b4 checking all checks, and then bishop c1 looks fairly convincing just for winning the queen or mate. Or bishop b2 if king e5 checking all checks. 22 seconds though, so this is a bit too dramatic. Is this king going to come down the board? 22 seconds. King e5 bishop b2. I'm holding on to d6 at least with that check. King e3 bishop c1. That looks pretty convincing even with 22 seconds. Oh dear. Oh yes, finally, 12 seconds. That was terrible. Oh god. I really wanted to not let you guys down for the concept in a real game. But I think it's quicker, the concept. The concept is actually quicker to implement as part of the tools of the tool set. You know the 5 tips video. If this was a 6 tip, if you wanted to improve your calculations, I think check all check is better than docking computer. Could you say what your opinion is? Do you think docking computer is it's not really, it's an analogy, it's not really, but check all checks is very direct. And someone mentioned it in the comments that he tells his students to check all checks. So there was a sort of quiet move leading up to a series of checks here, G3, because I thought the existing checks were inadequate in the position here. Now you'll probably find a killer check that I missed in this game. The king's exposed. There's lots of checking possibilities. I bet you there's something completely obvious here, like bishop c4. Does that win on the spot? Or I'm fairly sure I messed this up somehow. There's going to be a faster way to do this. Probably a mate in one that I've missed. So that was getting a bit scary for the clock situation, down to the last 12 seconds. But yeah, tell me what you think. Do you think check all checks would be better to think about rather than docking pure or even docking agents? Personally, I think I'm more comfortable with check all checks. So the king was stuck in the centre, so that was a good climate for check all checks. Then the first check, the second check. King's being drawn up the board, and you know, you want a successful chase. Yeah, you've got a, if you've got the king exposed, you really do want a successful chase, and this was more successful here than in a longer game where I had more time. Just using that optimal check all checks principle. Comments or questions on YouTube? Thanks very much.